how split testing can make a huge impact to your bottom line, where you should and shouldn't use AI for Amazon listing creatives, your top 10 listing questions answered, this and more on today's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AM/PM podcast. My name is Bradley Sutton, and I'll be your host. And this is the show where we discuss all things Amazon, TikTok Shop, and Walmart private label, and how to generate recurring revenue streams 24 hours a day during the AM and the PM, hence the name of the show. Get it? AM/PM podcast. And as a matter of fact, last week I went to Korea, spoke at a conference there, and pigged out on my favorite Korean barbecue pork belly. And even though I wasn't anywhere near a computer for a few days, I was still making money online. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our workshop here. Let's go ahead and meet our guests today. If you guys can just introduce yourselves and what you guys do in the industry, some of your experiences. Start with Daniela.
Sure. I am Daniela Bolzman, founder of mindfulgoods.co. For the last 8 years, we've been optimizing listings and storefronts for 7 to 9 figure sellers. We've worked with over 850 brands. And today I'm going to be sharing exactly how we're creating creatives that convert for those brands.
Awesome. Justin, next.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm one of the co-founders of PickFu. If you don't know what PickFu is, it's kind of like a digital focus group where we get real consumer human feedback on all your product decisions, from product packaging to branding to design to main images, infographics, and those things, all within a matter of minutes. And so, like Bradley said, we work with a lot of both newer sellers, but also some of the largest brands who are testing, hundreds of different products throughout their catalog.
Okay, and Kamal last.
Okay, so my name is Kamal. I'm the founder of AMZ One Step, and we've been optimizing listings, doing product photography, videography for Amazon sellers, creating A+ content for over 8 years now. And recently, I started a brand new AI startup. It's called Listing Optimization AI, which generates high converting Amazon images, for you with AI in minutes. So that's my new gig for the past few months.
Awesome. Now, why they're all here today? Normally we don't do these in person. We do these kind of webinars every month. So make sure you guys are on our list when you guys want to get on these live workshops for a more in-depth workshop for our elite members, where they have full presentations, and we did some case studies with this product and some other products where we can show you guys how to approach the task of making images, split testing them, doing things like Storefront, and how to put a listing together. I'm going to be talking about some launch aspects where a couple of launches I did in the past few weeks, I was able to get on page 1 for my main keywords in like 3 days. All right. So we're going to be talking about that workshop. So those of you who are Diamond or Elite members, you guys will be able to get the replay of that. But for everybody else, we want to kind of give you guys kind of like a sneak peek of what we do in our Elite program and give you guys a little taste of, the process and the kind of education that we give. So let's actually start with Kamal. I actually gave you guys this project of a real Amazon product that we're launching, these children's workbooks for a brand that's been on Amazon and TikTok Shop for a while. Now, I sent you the physical copy, but did you actually take any images of it, or did you do a photo shoot, or did you do all AI? What was your process, and how did you decide what that process would be?
Okay, so when I first looked at the product, I instantly knew that, okay, this is going to be a blend of AI plus, human work, including photography. Because the reason why, because that was a special, it was a cursive writing book, and there's like a lot of tiny little details, the special fonts, special animal characters. So AI was not going to get it perfectly right in the first code. I was absolutely sure about that. And that's why I was like, Bradley, can you send me one product, sample, so that at least we can generate mockups with the AI, and then we can replace, those pictures with the real photos. So that was the main reason I asked you to ship that product to me. But the process looked, like very hybrid. I think the 80% of the work was done with AI, maybe 85% of it, including the research, coming up with the image ideas, image concepts, main image variations. The whole ideation process was all AI. And then, the designer came in and photographer came in. Designer photoshopped the pictures, from the AI images, put the real ones, and also, just removed some of the AI, slop and made it look perfect. So that was kind of the process in the background.
Okay. Now, what's beautiful about the whole Amazon journey is there's no, you almost can't say this in 2026, but there's more than one way to skin the cat. Like, you're not supposed to say those kind of things about animal cruelty and things like that. But the point is that there's not just one way to do things. And I love having contrasting opinions and workflows because we all can get to something that's sellable and something that's decent and approaching it in a different way. There's some things where it's like, hey, there was just like one way that you probably, you should be looking at search query performance reports and looking at what, gave you good sales. And like, there's not much different ways to look at stuff like that. But other things, when it comes to creative, there's a many ways that you can approach that. So Daniela, when you approach something, how do you approach things? Like, do you 100% always suggest photography as opposed to doing this hybrid model?
So we love, love, love high quality photography. That nothing will ever replace that. But there's a lot of brands that are finding great success with AI, and there's a lot of brands that are not finding success with AI. So I think we have to balance both. One thing that you said earlier is you might not even need Helium-10 to do your creatives. I emphatically disagree with that. Not to tout Helium-10, but I will just say data is the biggest factor in what we're doing. At the very beginning, we have to pull as much data as possible. And because Helium-10 has so much of it, we're able to grab so many different gaps, so many different opportunities, put all that together and build a hypothesis. And that's really what tells you what creatives you need to be designing, right? It's if you go to Claude right now and you say, help me build an Amazon listing, tell me which images I need to create. Here's my competitors. It'll do it like a half decent job at analysis, but you're not giving it a North Star in terms of what data it actually needs to be factoring in and considering. And that data is the gold. That's the key. That's what's going to help you unlock the conversion levers. So for us, it's all about bringing in the data. Using AI in smart ways like rapid iteration is huge. Using AI with tools like PickFu is huge because we can analyze the data better than we've ever been able to. And then using AI for scaling catalogs is huge. So there's so many different levers that we can pull now with AI, but it's about doing it in a smart way that makes sense for each brand.
Yes. Now, let's actually show some of the pictures that we came up with. Hopefully you guys can see this, so those of you watching on YouTube. Now, the first thing we notice is these are all white background images. And so you might be wondering, you can only have one white background image. Why did Kamal make 4 different versions? Justin, why do you think so?
So that you could test it. Yeah, that we could test it. Yeah, against consumers.
Talk a little bit about that. I think that's something I think all of us here agree on, the split testing concept, but maybe this is not something that, all of you out there have experience. And then for those who might not understand what that means, Justin, if you can explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So, as Kamal said, when you're working on a main image, you typically have a lot of hypotheses of what's going to work. Maybe you're looking at what the competition's doing, but you don't know what's going to work until you put something out there. The danger of just putting something out there is that it's going to impact your sales. Even if you do a live A/B experiment with many of your experiments, you're still risking sales. And so what all of the advanced sellers are doing is pre-testing. And so with a platform like ours, and there's other ways that you can test it, is that you're testing off platform against your target audience. So perhaps you're targeting parents with this one because you want your kids to learn how to do cursive. You could target parents and ask them which of these variations most appeals to them, which one would they buy? And
parents who are also prime shoppers.
And parents who are, prime shoppers, or maybe you're selling on Walmart and you want to do Walmart shopping. So you could do that targeting. The great thing is that it's not just the quantitative data. So they're not just going to select which one they like, but they're going to give written explanations why in their demographic information. So you can read through that, you could analyze it and see, oh, they like, I was looking through some of the responses. I know that some of them like the call out that it was grooved. And so that they could actually trace it. People liked the product in use. The one that won actually showed the hand going through the cursive. And so there's all these small nuances that, they all look great. But when you hit your target audience, like certain things are going to resonate with them. And, a lot of times it's the layout. Sometimes what we've found is that sometimes when the layout's like too elaborate, but you can't actually see what all the different things are. I think this was maybe one of your polls many years back where it actually worked better to lay it out so you could see like the contents of each different variation. So there's all these small nuances that you're not going to understand if you just put it live and then maybe you see the performance dip and you don't know why.
Yeah.
So you actually want to hear from people like, oh, it's because, the brown dog versus the black dog is less appealing. And it's like, oh, people care about that.
Right.
People do.
This is a very, very specific type of product. So we can't just make like hypothesis against a category, although we do because we have like massive amounts of data, but
You have to start somewhere.
you have to start somewhere. And for very niche types of products, this is the quickest, fastest way for you to get the data, change your designs, and impact your listing without it actually touching your listing yet.
Yeah.
For those of you looking at this, what I should have done this before. I spoiled it because you guys saw I screwed up. But which would you have done? I personally thought that this first one might have been the pick because I like ones that have like a little call out, just makes it stick out on the page, and hey, it highlights the group pages. But which one, 1B, 2, or 3 that you guys can see, those of you watching, which would you have picked? And especially those of you who are parents, like there might be those of you single out there, no kids yet, maybe you have a differing opinion. But a lot of times when you run these polls, what you think, as even yourself as the brand owner, it's not the one that is picked. And so what I did on this poll was I did do what they said. I chose parents as a characteristic, and I chose Prime members. And this is the information we've got. And it was this picture 3 what's actually won. And it's interesting, some of the stuff that is mentioned, all right, that I wasn't thinking about. It says, like this person here says, I like option C the best because I like that I can see the image in the upper left-hand corner showing the examples of how the letters should be written. You see, like me, I know this product.
Yeah.
So like, I don't need that. Like, but then somebody who might be seeing this for the first time might not have even known until they saw that image that, hey, this is how it's used. I'm like, oh.
They want to see the paper inside, right? Because I think the other ones
They want
only have
paper, and it's something about the hand drawings. We've done a ton of journal clients as well, and those ones always perform the best. The other one is in the product image stack is a gifting image because journals are a highly giftable item.
Why do the hands one, they perform so much better? Because the process before you even, get to the split testing is you kind of, look at the search simulation and see which image does that stand out. So what we like to do, we generate, like maybe 10, 15 main images before we, shortlist the final ones, which are going to go to PickFu. So 10 images, and we look at which are standing out. The ones with the hands or with the hang tag or with the product packaging, they tend to break the pattern on the search results, and it just stands out. So that's why they do really, really well.
Did you test that as well? Against any competitors in the search?
Not yet, but let's talk about that, because it's not just about, all right, I made 4 images. Which one should we go with now? Let's just go forward. What are some extra steps, Daniela, that we should take in this process of split testing?
Our process is we're always trying to ideate as much as possible in the beginning. There's no wrong answers, right? You do this too. It's like 50 made images if you want. There's no wrong answers here. And then you take the ones that you think are the strongest. You would test them against each other and see which ones are trending in the right direction. What you're looking for at that point is really like directional data, so you can improve your images, iterate, make them even better, take the strongest ones, and really narrow it down to your top 1 or 2. Then I would test those against then I would test it against the baseline of whatever the client has. That's always what you want to do first. Make sure you're going to outperform whatever you have, period. Second, you want to test against your competitors. So that would be either the SERP type of testing in PickFu, which is its own thing, or you can pull some of just the made images from competitors and build your own. And there you want to see, you want a baseline to see how your original image was performing against your competitors. And then you want to use the ones that already were proven through your polling. So you would take one of your top contenders that you think is going to perform well on Amazon. Before you upload it to Amazon, run that against your competitors, the same ones that you ran in that first poll, and make sure that you're getting more clicks, that you're getting a higher percentage of basically stealing market share from your competitors.
Yep.
That's the simulation that you're doing.
Yeah. Now we got save your questions for the end, but I want to bring this out since I might not have this screen up towards the end. But I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to let Justin reply here. How is a total greater than 100%?
So the way we run the polls when it's a rank is actually it's a preference test where you actually rank every individual. And so if you want to scroll down a little bit, if you have it up, to the responses, you're actually going to see they don't just choose, oh, I like option C. They're actually going to say, I like C, then D, then A, then B. And so what this allows is that, because if you have 8 different options and everyone just chose their first choice, you might have 12.5% across the board. It's not really useful. But there's actually nuance to that. And a lot of elections use this, and they call it instant runoff polling, where basically if you don't have enough winners, if you don't have a majority winner in the first round, you actually discard, you take the votes from the lowest one, and then you take their second place, and then you apply it. And so what you're actually going to get is the most preferred option. And that's why they say that in areas that use this for political polling, political elections, you actually don't have as polarization, because you actually have someone that can work with everyone, because it's like, oh, this was actually everyone's most preferred. Maybe it was the B option, but it wasn't as polarizing as the other two. And so the reason why the percentage is that way, there's actually a little explanation on the poll results if you were to pull it up, but it's just the way that we're calculating the win percentage.
Yeah, because it'd be different if it was just, hey, pick one. You're not going to get as much insight, and you get different insights. Come on.
You know why this is great? Because let's say you have a winner, and for some reason Amazon rejects that image. Now you're like, okay, I'm going to go with my second. If this wasn't done, then you would have to read entire poll, and like, what the hell, right? So now if Amazon rejects the first one, you always have a fallback.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah. All right. Kamal, what is one of your top tips or strategies you're going to talk about today in the Elite Workshop, and just maybe general summary in a couple minutes of some of the other topics you're talking about?
So basically, I'll be talking about how you can generate image stacks. The question is like, should you use AI? It's not a binary question, yes or no. It's like, how much AI are you going to use, right? So I'll be sharing your process. I'm going to take an ASIN, and we're going to hopefully generate the full image stack up to 85% or 90%, whatever we can do, right? That's going to be live. So the process is something that it's going to look like this. We're going to look at all the competitors. We're going to scan their images. We're going to scan their copy. We're going to look at the reviews, your reviews, your competitors' reviews. We're going to analyze everything. We're going to see, we're going to extract some insights using AI. Like, who's the customer avatar? Who exactly is buying your product? What are the top pain points? What are the decision-making factors? What are the objections that you need to handle in your listing images? What should be the price point? And it's going to give us like the full image, strategy, like image stack concept. Like, hey, these are the ideas that I'm thinking. And then we're going to use, that to build images, using different image generation models, see which one, does a better job. The ones we like, we'll upscale that to 4K. We can potentially, we can even, using AI, we can push to Seller Central as well. And that's kind of the idea, like, pretty much building your whole image stack using AI. You can do like other stuff, download search query performance, give that to AI. There's like a lot of things, exactly how you generate images. But the bottom line is that, we will challenge ourselves and build the full image stack using AI. And then, then maybe Daniela comes in, or Justin, when we'll do the live PickFu poll as well. We'll see like why, Daniela might share, her insights, like what needs to, like what kind of human, like, feedback or expert opinion is necessary at the end of the image stack. Is it like ready to upload? Is it like, not ready to upload? So that's kind of, my talk.
What's the difference of how you approach, hey, what goes into the main image stack as opposed to what's in the A+ content? Because it's never been, forget about AI, but just some people, they would literally put the same images just in a different way from their image stack, and then that's what's in their A+ content. But these are two completely different things. How do you decide the direction you're going for each?
Okay, so I think that's a great question. So most Amazon sellers, they think of their Amazon listing as just one thing. What I like to break down, your main image is a totally different process than your secondary images. And your secondary images is a totally different process than your A+ content. So for the main images, my first, does it break the pattern? Does it look interesting? Does it pass to second rule? Would it stand out in the search simulation? Like, the whole focus of the main image is to get you the extra click-through rate, right? And it has nothing to do with the, your secondary. The secondary images, you do like completely differently. You do like, image stat polls with your competitors. That's where your pain points, your, different features, benefits, those things come out, right? That's where like the human psychology, the CBR, those kind of things come up. The A+ content, I think Daniela would probably be the best person to talk about A+ content. How I like to go about A+ content is, to give some like brand elements to it first. For example, your first module should be the branded one. You're talking about, you can use the frequently asked questions, to optimize for AI, to overcome some objections. You can use, the cross-selling modules to for upselling if you have other variations or similar products. Those are the areas where A+ content adds really, like a unique value. Another thing you can use A+ content for, if you have a unique selling, like point, and you can dedicate a full module on that unique selling point thing. I would only do the reputation in A+ content if something is super important. Otherwise, I would only add things which are missing from the image tag, which could not make up at the top, but they are still important, but they're not as important as, the image tag ones. Those ones would go over here. With premium A+ content, you can decide which one goes to my fourth, like when you in a carousel style images, that's where the priority. Number one, important thing, and then you scroll right, then your second most important thing, then you scroll right. So that's how I would design A+ content. It's a totally different process when it comes to A+ content or secondary images and
And I think now everybody qualifies for premium E+ content without even having to do those tricks. That was just something announced by Amazon in the last couple of weeks. All right, so now you guys kind of know, what Kamal's strategies are. Remember, the main part of the show is full Q&A with you guys. So I hope you're writing down their questions. Don't put them in the chat yet. We're going to have about 20 minutes. We're going to try and get to at least 20 of your questions. Daniela, what's a couple of your top strategies that you're talking about today that you can go ahead and share with the audience that's watching live?
I don't want to give it all away.
Don't give it all away.
But I will say, one of the things that we're pretty much known for two things that makes us a little bit different in the industry. One, we do split testing with every single project. We've been doing that for 8 years with PickFu. It was just awesome. And so what's interesting about that is we have so much data in our PickFu account. And now with Claude, we're able to analyze that across various different categories. So what's exciting for me, and this is something I've been wanting for years, is that we can now analyze multiple polls at once, and we can analyze categories at once and understand what are the insights that are going to actually move the needle and that are moving the needle for our top clients today. And then we can serve that up and share tactics, strategies. And today we're going to share some of that in the form of the playbook for supplements that we made, but also some data points that I've never shared publicly before, which is going to be awesome. And then the other thing we're known for is bringing in a direct-to-consumer style design into our process. So we serve a very particular type of client. We don't work with every brand. We probably only work with about 10 to 15 brands a month. We're very selective on who we work with. Most of our brands are going to be 8 or 9 figure sellers. They have much larger catalogs typically. And so with that comes a different, the reason why they work with us, because we have that very particular lens of how do we take the best practices that are working in the direct-to-consumer environment and bring those into a PDP on Amazon to bring their aesthetic, bring their brand to life on Amazon. Because I think that can be really challenging for brands, even brands that have been legacy sellers selling for 10, 20 years on Amazon. They still struggle with this. We see they come to us every single day and they're plateauing and their content needs to be refreshed. So we're going to show you exactly how we've been doing that for brands and how we think through those best practices and apply them to PDP alongside the split testing. And I think that formula for us is what really generates the results. More than 80% of our clients are seeing anywhere from 20% increase in sales to 2,500% increase in sales. And it's really the same formula every single time. Yes, the data points are different because we're gathering different data points from the split testing. And yes, the design is different because every brand has their unique brand identity, but it's the same process every single time. And so I'm going to share that process with everyone so they can build their own internal workflows around it.
30-second strategy, best strategy for brand storefront page.
Ooh, brand storefront page. I have 2 top tests that you should be running on your storefront. One is going to be testing your hierarchy. That is basically your navigation, rather. Like, how are people getting to your products and how are they getting to it as quickly as possible? That's the number one thing. They need to understand what your product is and how quickly they're going to get into the cart on the storefront. Yes, you have more attention than PDP, but it needs to be crystal clear what it is that they're getting. So that there's multiple ways to do that. So that's the number one test that we run. The second thing is above the fold hero. Usually what you see is just Amazon products that like just look Amazon branded. And really that's like one of the highest lever impact modes you make on your storefront is creating a big, huge hero section right at the top of your storefront and making sure that your best sellers are right there so you can create conversion right away.
Awesome. Justin, your top split testing strategies you can share with the audience.
Well, I'm going to reiterate what Daniela was saying, where we have a main image optimization playbook that we recommend. And it does start by baselining your main image against, let's say, your top 3 competitors. So grab your top 3 competitors from the SERPs, take their images, test your image against their images against your target audience. Not only are you going to see where you stand, but you're going to get all that feedback about why they chose those other options. So it's like, oh, I like the box, I like the packaging, I like the hand. And all that feedback, you're going to take that, you're going to make the iterations with it that we talked about. We're going to test it just like the poll you ran. After you find that winner, you're going to revalidate it against the competitors. And an important nuance there is that you don't have to win this, actually.
Yes.
So you might have lost with like 0 votes at the very beginning. If you even get 5 votes, 10 votes, you've made an improvement. You may not always win against your competition because maybe you're going to get some monster brands or your product just isn't as good. That's fine. But you were just trying to increase what we can. We can improve the main image. We can steal some clicks. We can steal some market share. So we just like to show a relative improvement. That process is incredibly reliable if you do this like end to end. So what I'm going to be previewing and what we're going to be talking about later is actually how to do this within Claude. So you can use our PickFu MCP with our connector to run all of these polls, run all these analysis, actually even do some image generation of those variations. The advanced stuff that I'm going to be showing is how to do this completely autonomously so that you don't have to touch anything. And so that'll be for the power sellers who have tons of SKUs. They've got hundreds of SKUs. They need to run this at scale. They don't have time to babysit it manually and not even within Claude itself.
Awesome. All right. So guys, we're going to talk in our workshop about PickFu, but those of you who have Helium 10, you might not even realize you already have access to it. It's not called PickFu and Helium 10. It's called Helium 10 Audience, but it's run 100% by PickFu. So those of 50% of you who are Helium 10 members, you could literally, while we're on this call, go into your Helium 10 account and run a Helium 10 audience on any of your products. Now, guys, as of now, this rest of the show is Q&A. There's already a few questions in there. We're going to get to it. I already got some questions here asking how to reach out to you guys. So let's start with Kamal. How can people find you, name your websites, and where's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so you can contact me on LinkedIn. My name is Kamaljit Singh. Find me on LinkedIn, or you can just go to www.amzonestep.com or www.listingoptimization.ai. That's where you can find me. You just click on the contact button. I'll see that message.
Justin.
Same LinkedIn, Justin Chen on there. Obviously, you can go to pickfu.com, pickfu.com, or try it out in Helium 10. You don't need a new account. You already have your payment method in there, so you can try it out. If you do come to pickfu.com, we do have a free onboarding, so you can try it out. There's like a mini poll that you can run for free. Otherwise, feel free to email me, justin@pickfu.com. I'd love to hear how you're trying to test. If you're trying to do things autonomously, I'd love to hear the different stories.
Daniela?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Daniela Bolson, and my website is mindfulgoods.co.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the questions here. Let's go rapid fire on some of these. This actually is for Justin, but to make it more real, I'm going to have somebody who doesn't have skin in the game answer this. Kamal, why would you use PickFu instead of just running Amazon's Manage Your Experiments A/B testing?
Great question.
Okay, I think number one, I think it's fast. You get the instant results. You don't have to wait for weeks. That's number one reason. The second reason is, like Justin mentioned already, you don't want to take a risk with image which is not tested already. I like to call it, a practice game. So you want to win the practice game before you actually play the the real game. So don't skip that. So that's the second reason. Third one, you're going to get feedback, like why people chose that image and or what was the reason. So you're going to extract so many insights that probably you were not even thinking about. And you would be surprised to see, like, what the hell, like, why did 50% of the people mention about this thing that I did not even notice? So it will give you so many insights. And now you can take that, feedback. And now that's something we call iteration process or the revisions process. If you don't do that, that means you're just taking risk live, and then then you don't even get the feedback, and you're like, why it's not working, and then you have nothing to make changes based on. You're just playing blind, which is very risky for a business. And there's like many other reasons why you should be using PickFu before you actually test live. So, but these are my top 3 reasons.
I'll add to that really quick.
All right, real quick. You gotta get to all this.
So here's the thing, because both of us have been running polls for 8 years, we have massive amounts of data, right? For us, it's a non-negotiable. Like, we would never do a project without running split testing. It's just something we would never do. We did an analysis on a bunch of our PickFu polls, and we correlated the data, which I'm going to share today, between brands that ran their split testing and then did their Amazon experiments afterwards. 75% of the brands that did that won in their PickFu testing and put those versions live to Amazon experiments, 75% of them showed an increase in sales. So there's an argument that people make, like, why would I use a third-party testing tool? It's not real Amazon shoppers. It is. They're Prime members. You can select Prime members. And 75% of your results will carry over into increased sales. So,
yeah, my data shows it's 80%. So I have, we mentioned MNCP a few times. So 2 insights that I got. If you split test your main images, there's 80% chances that the new image is going to win. That was one insight that I got from MCP. The second one, the difference between average main image and a great main image is about 2 to 5 times the CTR. These were the insights that I got, and this is mind blown. Out of it.
Let's stick with Justin here for testing competitor images. I think Daniela was talking about that.
Yeah.
Are we talking about product placement, positioning the image being the same as a competitor? So it's also about when you're split testing against the competitor, it's like you're not just split testing the image, but actually kind of like how it looks in the search results, right? You PickFu, can you talk about that real quick?
About product placement?
Yeah. Oh, if it's not just the image, like it shows the number of reviews and stuff like that.
Well, I'll take it both ways, because I'm not sure how they're talking about it. But first of all, like within a main image, you'll be surprised at how much like position left versus position right like makes. Like sometimes people just like to see the product positioned this way, or certain angles. So aside from doing all the little tips and tricks, like even just that kind of product placement can actually make a really big difference. But then, you do want to see how it looks relative to the actual SERP. So we do have a SERP test where you can mock it up into a mock environment, or you can actually just take a screenshot and do like a click test where you will generate a heat map. So there's a lot of different ways that you could test out how it actually looks within the context of the other search competitors.
All right, going to Kamal now. Our friend from Greece here says, I've got a question about Amazon main images. I've noticed an increasing number of listings are using labels or graphic elements in smart ways to make products stand out, even though main image rules are traditionally quite strict. Has Amazon become more flexible with this, or is it still considered risky from a compliance point of view? And we could probably talk 10 minutes, but 60 seconds or less.
Okay, so I get that question a lot. So Amazon has, there are some categories where Amazon is like super strict. It won't even allow anything, outside. You can't really do it. It has to be pure white background product only. And there are some categories where I've seen like lifestyle images being used as a main image. So first I would check, like, if your competitors are using that, I think you should use that too. But if everybody's using those strategies, and the whole purpose of the main image is to break the pattern and not do, you have to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. Because we were talking about search simulation. That's where I would check. So that's what. Yeah, I only have 60 seconds, but yes, it is different categories, and I think that's one thing we just talked.
Have fun, play with it. The Amazon will slap you on the wrist.
If they're doing it, you can do it.
Yeah. There's some things, guys, on Amazon you don't mess with, like fake reviews or we're doing crazy things like that. It's just like, don't even dabble in something that you can consider a gray area. There are other things where the worst that can happen is like not bad at all. Like where Amazon might say, hey, this image is not compliant. And actually it doesn't even suspend it. It might just, it's why you should have like a white background image as like maybe your 7th or 8th image. Because sometimes if they don't like your main image, they'll just switch it automatically without even letting you know. And like, you don't even get a slap on the wrist. So just, know which things that you can kind of play with and other things where are non-negotiable, such as reviews. Daniela, Valentine says, how much does having a good storefront influence a product purchase? Does it noticeably increase the CVR or it's not a determining factor?
It absolutely noticeably increases the CVR. We've tested this on brands that actually are not driving any traffic whatsoever. Their storefronts were just sitting there, and almost every single time their sales went up. So that's interesting to me because it's just with little bits of effort you can make meaningful improvements. Whereas like on PDP, it's a very competitive space. To be changing your listing, it's so many different things you have to factor in. Whereas on your storefront, you have way more control and there's already organic traffic. So go check your reports and see how much traffic is landing there and play around with it,
Hosea says, hey, Amazon listings typically have less text, have clean aesthetics. In the age of AI with Rufus driving 20% of, guys, don't drink that Kool-Aid. Rufus is not driving 20% of the sales on Amazon. Rufus is great for a follow-up. Basically, the kind of things that you would do anyways. Like if you were as a buyer on an Amazon listing, what would you do? You would look at all of the images. You would read the details to see what it's compatible for. You would summarize the reviews and read the reviews. Rufus is helping with that. But if you're trying to say that, hey, Rufus drives 20% of all sales through search, guys, that's not what people are saying out there, and that's not what Amazon is trying to say either. Is it? But that being said, yes, having more text in your listing for Alexa, formerly known as Rufus, it can read that. I've tested it before where there's a question that maybe Alexa asked, or you ask Alexa a question and your listing doesn't answer it, and you put it in an image or you put it like in a bullet point or something, within 10 minutes, Alexa will be able, again, the artist formerly known as Rufus, will be able to change their answer. And so it's really amazing how if you notice a gap with Alexa or Rufus, that making these changes to your listing can instantly change it. Whereas in the old days, we were just talking about SEO, you make a change to your listing, it might take like a week for you to see results, but Alexa is like within minutes. So that's something good. But in this age of AI, are you guys doing anything differently, like putting more text on the images, either in your A+ content or having more infographics because of AI, or are you just kind of doing the same thing?
I think a little bit different. We say that it's text, but AI does not really need to know the text to understand the context of the image. To give you a couple of examples, one we used, like we didn't put anything about perfect gift or anything in the text, but we had a gift box in the background. And then we, if we use listing optimization.ai, we have a Rufus and Cosmos section now known as Alexa. Like it analyzed as a giftable. Yeah, this is it said, yes, this question is answered about the giftability. It's a giftable product. Second one, we had at small icons. It was a product which was made for school and then parties, and and then the question was like, is it for adults or kids only? Like just from the school and the parties, it understood that yes, it's for adults and kids. So how AI understand, it's not only because of the text. It's like it's looking at the image semantically. So you wanna make sure your images are like semantically optimized as opposed to just putting information in terms of text normally. So that's the beautiful thing about AI.
Okay. Quick one for Kamal here. How do you photograph your base image before inserting AI tools? So that grooved handwriting thing I sent you, you then did AI, but obviously didn't just magically appear in the AI. So what do you do for that?
Just take, if you know that you're going to take the real pictures, it does not really matter. Take a picture from your cell phone. Like the way AI will automatically rearrange things for you. It's not going to be perfect, but that's where you can start. That's where you can start. Once you're happy with the concept, then you can take a picture from the exact angle, and then ask AI to replace that picture, from the concept. So don't just get into that mindset where you have to take a perfect product picture before you begin with. Use AI. Let it mess up your product. That's fine. And then then you replace the product.
Quick one I'll do here. Can Rufus or Alexa read the text description that is hidden once we add A+ content? In my testings, both SEO and Alexa can still read that. So like if you have A+ content, which everybody should have, you still should have your description in the background, but don't just keyword stuff that, because if something happens to your A+ content, the listing reverts to that description that you have there. So if you're just like keyword stuffing the description because you're like, oh, nobody's ever going to read this, you might have a bad experience if something ever happens to your A+ content. But yeah, last I checked, Alexa and SEO both indexes parts of it, not 100%. All right, let's see here. There are some questions asking about, will there be a replay? Yes, we're going to have this on the AM PM podcast, YouTube. And then also, if you want the replay of our workshop, normally that's only for elite members. Like elite members can attend. And but if we're going to open it up just for this one, the 7-hour workshop that we're doing later today, anybody who's a Diamond member on this call will be able to get access to their deep dive workshop that we're doing later today. I'm going to throw up a quick coupon code. If anybody just wants to join for like 1 month just to be able to get this, it's 20% off. You can use the code SSP20. All right. So use that for to get 20% off the Diamond plan. Obviously, Kamal has listing optimization.ai. Daniela, when you don't use AI too much in the production, but do you for your mockups, do you use like ChatGPT or something in order to like mock up your kind of like storyboard before you do the production? And if so, which AIs are you using?
So what's interesting is the storyboard, we're primarily just using Figma and it's mostly text-based at this point, not visual-based. Once we get drafts back from our designers, that's where we're really like rapid iterating with AI. And for that, I'm typically using ChatGPT, although I feel like every week it's changing. And when a new model comes out, I'm like, oh, I want to see how it performs against this. So I think we're all in this state of constant learning. I don't think there's any one way to do this right now. Everyone's constantly growing and learning, and that's what's so exciting about it. Yeah.
After optimizing your photos and listing, how do you know it's ready? I find myself tweaking my listing and photos a lot. This is my first listing. I want to do well. Daisha is suffering from analysis paralysis, which we all have gone through. So who'd like to talk about this?
Maybe I can take this one. So, if you follow the process, right, go through, like let's say PickFu polling first, and then go through manager experiments, and then also keep tracking your, CTR and CVR. So any change that you make, it should reflect in something. If you're making a change in your main image, your CTR should either go up or go down or stay flat. So I would say just, keep testing and keep tracking. There's no right or wrong answer here. You just have to, it's not a one-time task, it's a process, and you should never stop this. Just, for example, if you're worried about this change will make a difference or not, just test it out for a week and you'll find out. So you can always go back. That's a good thing about it.
Last question of the day is about video. First of all, in PickFu, can I split test video at all?
You can. Yeah,
I've never used it for that.
Yeah, so you can upload video. You don't even have to split test. You can get open-ended feedback on a video. So maybe it's your existing video, or you have a version that you want to get feedback on. You could ask the audience to watch it. And you don't want to just say like, do you like this video? A lot of times you have a video for a purpose. So, what is the takeaway from this video? Is it because maybe it's conveying security or sustainability or whatever it is? You probably have a purpose to it. The other way that people test, as they're creating videos, they test the different aspects of the video. So they might be testing storyboards or voiceover actors, background music, all these components. If you wait to the very end to test something, then you're getting feedback on all those micro decisions that you've already made. But if you can get feedback along the way, then you're making the best decision. And so like that final product's going to be a lot more put together.
And last question along that line about AI videos. Video ads. Are you doing anything AI as far as the video advertising, or that's not literally what you work on, or creating any kind of like unboxing video or something with AI?
So we've always done UGC. We've gotten a bit into AI ads. I think all of that is changing right now, especially with the law that passed in New York, where your content, if you're running advertising, has to be labeled that it has synthetic AI humans. And so the way that we're going about this is we're treating, we are choosing to treat PDP as an advertisement because I don't know what the gray area is legally. And so we are going to be labeling all of our content, whether it has AI or not. We're going to be labeling it so that there's transparency in the process. I think that's important. I think it's a good step in the right direction. I think that there's going to be more laws that follow this, and this is just the beginning. And we do need boundaries around AI. So I think that that's a positive thing. Amazon has its creative studio. I think it's just called Amazon Creative Studio. And in there, you can drop your product. You actually don't even need to drop anything in there. You could just tell it, go find my PDP and make me a video about my product. And it makes incredible video content. When we ask it to make specific snippets, it'll make a few different versions. And, sometimes there's a piece of it that's not great. It's a little sloppy, but there's little bits of like 1, 2, or 3 second clips from almost every single production that it puts out. That's just amazing. And so what we'll do is we'll take little snippets and kind of stitch them together in a post-editing software to make an ad from that. And so there you're going to have more controlled ad text and all that kind of stuff, which Amazon Creative Studio does have that as an option. It's just, for me, it's a little slow. And so I'd like to move it into other software.
All right. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thank you guys for coming from Canada, Culver City, and Peru all the way to present this. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye now.
Bye.